Mike, I'm from Boston. I'm really excited to be here. I don't get to come out to the Bay Area too often. So, it's a lot different than Boston here. There's this incredible energy around the startup world, around the tech world. And when I'm here, I like to experience that as much as I possibly can. So what I usually try to do is that when I come out to the Bay Area for a conference or for a meeting, I generally try to tack on a couple of days beforehand to try to soak up some of that energy around the tech startup world. And for this particular trip, I came out a couple of days early. And I spent the day on Saturday down at Stanford at Startup School. And Startup School is a conference that's put on by Y Combinator, where they bring in all sorts of successful founders from Pinterest, from Uber, from GitHub. And these guys tell their stories, and they talk about how their businesses are performing. And as I was sitting there listening to the talks, it was very interesting. I noticed a trend where pretty much every founder showed a graph that looked like this about their business. Incredible growth, millions of users, what have you. They all showed this graph. And when they talked about the path that it took to get where they were, it all sounded very linear to me. They didn't talk about the failures. They didn't talk about the things that they screwed up. They didn't talk about any of the challenges. And as I was sitting there listening, I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm giving this talk at FailCon on Monday. It's obviously a different idea. We're talking about things that didn't work. We're talking about products that failed. And I thought to myself, okay, what would my graph look like for the product that I'm going to talk about today? So here's users. And in terms of trajectory, ours looked a little bit more like this. So my talk is going to be different from the talks at Startup School. My talk is going to be about the messy stuff, about the stuff we screwed up. And my hope is that if I do my job well, that at the end of this talk, you'll be able to learn from some of our mistakes, hopefully avoid them when you're developing your next product or your next company. So the story starts for me in 2009. I was working for a consumer internet company in Boston called Grasshopper.com. So just a quick show of hands. Has anyone ever heard of Grasshopper? Okay, cool. So they've got a very cool mission. Their whole mission is to empower entrepreneurs to succeed with very simple software products, the most successful of which is the Grasshopper virtual phone system. And we sell that phone system to small business owners. And right when I started there, we had launched an initiative inside of the company called Grasshopper Labs, which is basically like a think tank or an R&D group inside of the company where we were going to try to come up with more ideas, more products to sell to entrepreneurs and to empower entrepreneurs. So the first one I worked on was called Chargeify. It was a recurring billing system for anyone doing subscription or recurring products like web apps or membership sites. So we launched that. That product has been very successful. It's spun off as its own company and has about 900 customers now. But the product that I'm going to talk about today was called Spreadable. And I'm going to talk about how we spent 14 months developing the product, how we spent $500K of Grasshopper's cash to bring it to market, and how we really didn't have anything to show for it at the end. So a little backstory. Grasshopper is a very interesting business. They have acquired 40,000 paying customers over the past 7 years, and they have 0 salespeople. So it's a very low-touch sales model that requires almost no intervention to onboard a new paying customer. And every day when people sign up, we ask them how they heard about us. And there is one option that is a friend or colleague referred me. Now this is the only option that would imply that an actual human being referred this person to come check out Grasshopper and to come sign up for Grasshopper. And on any given day, 40% of the people who sign up select this option. And 40% word of mouth is a huge number for any business. And so we were sitting around one day, and this was about 2 years ago, and we said, okay, we know that we've got this product that people are passionate about. We know people are already referring us to people that they know. How can we encourage this behavior even more? And what came out of that was what we called the Refer an Entrepreneur program. And basically what this boils down to is that this is a referral form that we put in strategic places inside of our application, on our marketing site, and all of the emails that we send to customers. And it's a really simple idea. It allows our passionate customers to refer us via email or via social tools like Facebook and Twitter, and they can share a discount with the people that they know to try to entice them to come and sign up. So when we launched this, it was incredibly successful. So compared to our other marketing channels, let's say if we're doing a radio campaign, it costs us about $200 to acquire a new paying customer. And that traffic will convert somewhere in the vicinity of 1.5%. Refer an Entrepreneur was only costing us $25 to acquire the new customer for the discount. And the traffic was converting at 22%. So 22% of the people that clicked through a referral email or clicked a referral tweet or a Facebook post would actually become paying customers. And in its first year, the program was responsible for $100,000 in revenue just at sign up. So that's just the revenue we collected at sign up. And if you look at that over the course of a year and how long customers are staying with us, this simple referral form generated like $1 million in business in its first year. So we knew we had uncovered a pretty valuable formula, and at Grasshopper Labs we're like, okay, we think we've sort of cracked the code on this referral thing. Let's systemize this. How can we productize this and then sell it to other businesses? So that is how we decided that we were going to build this product called Spreadable. So this video I'm about to show you, I'm just going to show you like 60 seconds of it, but this really sort of like pulls together what our vision was.
Okay, so as entrepreneurs, we live to grow our businesses, right? I mean, we spend tons of money on marketing to get more customers, online, email, search engines, and maybe even TV and radio. We then provide a great experience for our customers and then hope they spread the word about us to their friends, family, and colleagues. But hoping they refer us is no way to grow a business. And that's why we created Spreadable. A person referring your business to their friends doesn't cost a dime. Zilch. And get this, word-of-mouth referrals are better than any other form of marketing. Yeah, in fact, about 20% of people who hear about your business via word of mouth will end up becoming paying customers. Spreadable is a customized tell-a-friend widget for your website and emails that drives word-of-mouth referrals. No need for developers, social media gurus, or ninjas, or whatever. It's easy. All right, this is how it works. Let's say you've got a bunch of happy customers, right? And they've got some friends who could also benefit from your product or service. So why not ask them to spread the word and give them an easy way to do it? So now you've got a Spreadable button on every page. That same happy customer can click on it and easily send referrals via email or through social tools like Facebook and Twitter. Spread.
Okay, so you guys get the idea. So that was our vision. Just a quick side note on that explainer video. That is like 3 minutes long. And if you're doing an explainer video for your product or your service, people generally stop watching after like 60 seconds. So, okay, so we've got this idea for Spreadable. We want to productize a referral program for small businesses. So next step, we built this amazing team. So we've got developers from Grocket, developers from Daily Burn, an early guy from Odeo. And we also have 7 people from the Grasshopper team who are moonlighting for us. So depending on the sprint, depending on what features we're building, at any given time we have between 5 and 12 people working on the product. And a little foreshadowing here, 12 people is a lot of people to be working on an early stage product like this that's so early in its life. So on paper, we're looking really good right now, right? We've got this awesome team. We've got experienced founders who already have 2 successful products in the marketplace. We've got 40,000 customers already paying us for one of our other products. We've got 2,000 people who've opted into a beta page, expressing interest in learning more when we launch the product. And really, we have endless resources, endless financial, technical, and networking resources. But the reason that I'm here, and of course the reason that you're here, is that we still failed. It didn't work. So we launched the product in the summer of 2010, and we shut it down in the spring of 2011. I'm going to start with why. So every successful SaaS business has a set of key metrics that they're using to monitor the health of the business. So for Grasshopper, that's things like customer lifetime value, cost per acquisition, average revenue per user, churn. There are more examples, but those are the important ones. And the really challenging thing when we built Spreadable was that we were constantly benchmarking ourselves against the metrics that we knew made Grasshopper a really successful business. That's hard for a startup because Grasshopper is a 7-year-old company with 40,000 customers, and comparing a startup to that is like comparing apples to oranges. So that mentality really sums up why we shut it down. But in terms of the metrics, there were 3 things that were big red flags. The biggest one was that churn was 3 times higher. So, churn measures how many customers are canceling each month over how many active customers you have in your base. And this was purely of a function of the fact that we didn't do our job well early in the process of developing the product, of getting customer feedback and getting customer input beforehand. So the customers that came and signed up for the product were not the customers that we expected. And when they went and implemented the product on their website, they didn't get the results that we had promised, and they canceled. And the second big red flag was that it was costing us 3 times more to acquire new customers than it did for Grasshopper. So CPA was 3 times higher. A big reason for this was that we were using marketing channels that were really successful for Grasshopper. So we said, okay, let's run a big radio campaign and try to drive traffic that way. It turns out the customers who were going to sign up for Spreadable weren't the same ones that were going to sign up for Grasshopper. So radio turned out to just be a really effective way to waste a lot of money. The second big red flag under CPA was that the search volume, organic search volume for the order-driving keywords for Spreadable was very low compared to that of Grasshopper. So an organic search is a huge part of Grasshopper's business. So we weren't going to be able to acquire customers in the same way using organic search. And the third thing was that the product ended up being much more high touch than we had the infrastructure to handle. It required a lot of hand-holding for integration. It required a lot of post-implementation support. And at the time, we were a 35-person company already supporting 2 other products, and we just didn't have the infrastructure in place to be able to support all of these additional customers. So really those 3 things wrapped together were the main reasons why we decided not to invest in the product anymore. But there were also some other really good lessons that we learned. And the first one I want to touch on is that I think we completely wasted our beta list. So I mentioned earlier that we had 2,000 people tell us that they were interested in what we were building and that they wanted to hear more when the product launched. Now the problem was that, great, we got these 2,000 people to tell us that, but we actually didn't ever reach out to them until the product launched, and that was 7 months later. So you can imagine what happens. So we send this email out to 2,000 people, and we get crickets. 7 people out of the 2,000 signed up. And we missed a big opportunity to nurture those people who were telling us that they were interested, whether we were sending them blog posts or sending them useful content. But I see startups do this all the time. You can't build this great email list and then just let it sit there for 6 months while you build the product. You need to be interactive with that list and nurturing them. So at the end, you have a warm list of 200 or 300 of people who are engaged with what you're saying and will hopefully buy the product when it launches. The second point I touched on a little bit earlier. We had 12 people working on the product at times. And intuitively it makes sense that, okay, a bigger team, we're going to be able to make more progress. We're going to be able to build more features, more stuff. But my experience was actually the opposite. That we were so early stage and we still had so many unanswered questions that having such a big team actually created a lot of bureaucracy and a lot of politics. And we weren't able to make decisions as fast as if we had had a smaller team. I'm also going to make the argument that having such a big team actually encourages the wrong behavior. The behavior that's rewarded is actually just building more stuff and building more features, whereas we should have been encouraging learning from customers and encouraging building the right features. So if I had it to do over again, I would have definitely kept the team smaller, 3, 4, or 5, with the classic hacker, hustler, designer model, or product design. Engineering, and I think we could have made the same progress in the same amount of time spending a fraction of the money. And this next point is that we didn't charge for the product from the day we launched it. So we launched the product in the summer of 2010, and we didn't actually start charging for it until December. So it was in the market for 6 months where we weren't collecting any revenue. And I'm a huge advocate for charging for, it's different if you're in the consumer web space, but if you're selling to businesses, I'm a huge advocate for charging for your product no matter how crappy it is. And here's why. It gives you signal early on of whether or not you have built a must-have product. And what I mean by that is the act of someone pulling out their credit card and actually paying for something you built is a pretty good signal that you've built something that's going to be useful. If you can sell to 1, you can sell to 10, you can sell to 100. It's also a good indicator as to, is this working, right? In the early stages of the startup, you're changing so many things. You're changing your positioning, your marketing, the design of your site, who you're trying to sell to. And if you don't have something to measure that against, are these changes actually going to improve my business? Is this change actually going to cause more people to sign up for the product and pay me? Why make the changes at all? So measuring against actually getting people to give you their credit card is the optimal situation. And third, when people are paying you money, your customers, their feedback becomes much more pointed, and their feedback, they become much more engaged in your product and helping you build a better product. The mistake that we made was that we had this 6-month beta, we had hundreds of free users, but only a fraction of those were engaged. And when we started charging for the product, all of a sudden we started getting all of this amazing feedback from people who really wanted to be involved and they really wanted to shape the product and what we built next. And finally, it's just a good morale booster for your team. When customers write you checks, it's validation that what you're doing is working and that you're on the right track and you're building the right features. And it's just great for the team to know. And the last point I'm going to talk about is that we got very hung up on marketing early in the process. So when we should have been focusing on building an amazing product, we were focusing on marketing the product and getting it out to more people. And the result of this was that we missed a big opportunity to build a product that people loved. And if you're in the early stages and you're focusing on anything but writing code and building and talking to users, you're probably wasting your time. So we fell into the trap when things weren't working. So we said, okay, we've got this product, it's okay, it's not great. But we tried to market our way out of having a bad product, and that is a really hard thing to do. So it was messy, right? We made a ton of mistakes. There's a lot of things I would do differently, a lot of things that I would change. But I think what's important is that if you ship stuff, if you're an engineer, if you're a marketer, if you're a product person, everyone is going to have a project that looks like this. Everyone is going to have a company that looks like this. And I think what's important is that you don't let a failure like this define what you do next. And it's great to have a forum like this where we can share these stories and learn from each other. And hopefully we're all here and we're all doing this so that we can have more graphs that look like this at the end of the day. So, thank you.